Hello everybody and welcome to Avient Specialty Inc.'s Facebook Live event covering some QC procedures in the shop. The first QC test that most people do is checking out how the ink works in the bucket. Is it creamy? Is it long? Is it going to do the job they need? And is it consistent to what's been received before? Any modifications after that would be in order. Next is on the press. Is it clearing the screen like you'd like it to? Direct to garment. It should peel away from the shirt very easily, not grabbing the fibers and pulling them up. Next is flash. You want just enough flash to make it dry to the touch. If it's tacky, it means you probably over flashed it. And then the overprint on this white, for instance, needs to be very little pressure and clear a high screen easily. The result will be a nice smooth surface, which is what we call the aesthetic, or on the garment. The best way to check if the ink is cured or if you're printing correctly is washer and dryer. Here at Avient we have a Melee wash. It's a super washer. Basically, estimate about 5 washes per 1 wash of a Melee. So 5 Melee washes will come out to about 25 regular home washes. Here it goes into a cycle of wash and dry. But this is pretty expensive equipment. At home you can use your regular washer and dryer. And then you're looking for, make sure the ink is printed well. If it's washing well, this one's washed very well. Nice surface. But you may come across things like fibrillation, especially in black inks on a white garment. You may choose to go softer, or you may choose to create a more of a surface, depending on what your customer likes. Here's another one, cracking over time. This could be after 5 washes. And then sometimes it's a complete delamination of the ink. And this could be an ink problem. It could also be a fabric problem, let's say a nylon not accepting the ink. Here's a test that most people will never be asked to do. It's called a Croc. So the big brands will ask for this, and sometimes some of the big box stores. It's basically testing the ink's durability on the surface from abrasion. You'll see the 2 different types of crocking here. This is a dry croc. You won't see it here, but we go over this surface 20 times. And once we've done that, we will take the fabric piece off the croc meter and view the results. As you can see, we have very little croc on this. This would be a perfect 5. So now we selected and more of a problem color. This is a fluorescent with some red. And once again, we'll put in a dry piece of fabric into the croc meter and running the meter 20 times over the surface. And as you can see, we are making sure we have mostly color under it. And we pull this one off, you can see a slight tint. I think this will probably pass because it's probably going to grade out as a 4 or 4.5. Here's a slightly different. This is a wet croc. We actually wet the fabric and place it in the croc meter like before. Not all stores will ask for this, or not all customers will ask for a wet croc, but some will. And in some types of ink, it is very telling. In this case, we purposely over plasticize this one so you can see a bad croc. And there you go. That's not going to do well in the croc meter. So they have this grading system assigning a number to each of the croc intensities. And as you can see, the rating system is a 1 is the worst, up to a 5, 5 being perfectly clean. Here's a test that can be made before printing. This test is called a ghosting test. Now, since the fabric may ghost under certain conditions, we try to replicate those conditions. First, we use a low bleed white. You can also do this with a cotton white just to prove that it doesn't ghost. We're putting a color down that has a propensity to ghost. A lot of browns, a lot of beige colors. There's quite a few out there. And basically, I've noticed that most of these are colors that need like a red and a blue and a yellow to create it. Here I'm adding water to a white fabric to go on top because usually the things that need to happen to make ghosting in a regular environment would be pressure by stacking all the shirts together, the heat obviously from the dryer, the low bleed white, and then the dyes that are in that fabric. The trigger seems to be humidity, so that's why I added a little bit of water. This was a quick test here. I knew it was going to happen quickly, but usually a true ghosting test will take longer. Here's another great test for checking bleed. We'll create a piece of art where half of it has a bleed resistance, the other half does not. This effect can help you create new designs by letting the bleed come through and create other colors. Thank you for checking in with us. We'll see you next week.